So it is looking more and more like the Las Vegas Raiders are waiting out the Klint Kubiak sweepstakes to be the grand prize winner and bring him to Las Vegas. And here is why. Because the Arizona Cardinals and the Cleveland Browns were the only two teams left, but the Cleveland Browns just hired Todd Monken, and that leaves the Arizona Cardinals and the Las Vegas Raiders as the only two teams left that don't have a head coach. Now, why would Klint Kubiak want to come to either one of these teams? We're going to get into both of those, and we're also going to talk about the Davis Webb situation and whether or not the Raiders will be bringing this young man over to Las Vegas. So here's the first thing is that Davis Webb was interviewed by the Las Vegas Raiders and he was interviewed by the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills hired offensive coordinator Joe Brady to become their new head coach, and so that pretty much left only the Las Vegas Raiders as a team that was interested in making this very young man at 30 years of age the next head coach sensation like Sean McVay. But there's a catch. There is the Denver Broncos catch, and that is that they fired their OC, and it is expected they are going to offer the OC position to young Davis Webb in a way to try and keep him from going to Las Vegas. Now, they wouldn't be able to stop him from going to Vegas because it is an elevated move, and he would have to accept that job anyway. So he could still come to Vegas if the Raiders offer him the job. But the Raiders did do a second interview with Davis Webb, and they haven't offered him the job, despite there being multiple interested teams in hiring him as their next offensive coordinator, like the Philadelphia Eagles, etc., as well as his own Denver Broncos. And that's a lot to contend with because this young man has options right now. He is as hot as his career will probably ever be at this stage of his life. And so if the Raiders aren't going to move fast, he's going to accept another job pretty quickly. So the fact that the Raiders haven't offered him the head coaching job and took a big risk on him to see if he could be the next Sean McVay or not says a lot. And I think what it means is the Raiders are looking around and they look and see, okay, there were 10 teams who needed a head coach. There are only 2 left. And it really comes down to Klint Kubiak and how he feels about the Seattle Seahawks. Does he want to stay with the Seattle Seahawks, especially if they win the Super Bowl? As reports are coming out right now, Klint Kubiak is waffling a little bit. Now, these are unsubstantiated. We don't have any hard facts as to whether or not this is true. But I think if you're the Las Vegas Raiders, you've got one of two situations with Klint Kubiak. Either with your communications with him and his agent and team, that you've got a confirmed handshake, man, this is my word, I am coming to Las Vegas style of a deal. Now, they can't put anything on paper until after the Super Bowl. But you have to know for sure that Klint Kubiak is, one, ready to become a head coach and ready to become a head coach with the Las Vegas Raiders, or stick with a winning organization that he's at right now and make a ton of money as an offensive coordinator, which I'm sure he's going to be probably getting a pay raise here pretty soon, especially when they win the Super Bowl. And I do believe that they're going to win the Super Bowl because the New England Patriots beat a lot of teams this year who have coaching vacancies now that they've had to fill, subpar records, the New York Jets. I mean, that explains a lot on their path to victory. I know they did make it through the playoffs and they made it to the Super Bowl. Cool, but they were playing a Denver Broncos team that didn't have their young star quarterback. And so I think that it would definitely be the Broncos going to the Super Bowl if that had not happened to Bo Nix. So I think Seattle's going to win. And now you're going to have a situation where I am hoping that Seattle wins. And here's why. Because you've already accomplished what you can accomplish with the Seattle Seahawks. You've got a Super Bowl ring. As an offensive coordinator, you already have the elite status. You got the Super Bowl ring. Now you don't have as much of an emphasis to come back and finish what you started, which means you can move on to the next thing and see if you can now build that up on your own. And I'm hoping that that's the situation with Klint Kubiak where he feels like, okay, I've won the Super Bowl. Now let me go to the Raiders with the number 1 overall pick, $100 million in cap space, and let me build this organization. We know that he'll get a 5-year deal. That's the industry standard right now for head coaches. Joe Brady just got a 5-year deal with the Buffalo Bills. So you're probably going to see the same similar situation with the Las Vegas Raiders. So he's going to have that time, hopefully, and not be fired after 1 year if things don't go according to plan right off of the gate. But the best thing about Clint Kubiak is he can take a Fernando Mendoza style quarterback, which is kind of like an Aaron Darnold in my opinion, and you can win a Super Bowl with him. But you have to have a couple of things. You have to have a really good tight end. You have to have a really good running back. You have to have a really great offensive line. And if you have those things, he can put up 30 plus points per game on you because he is that good of an offensive coordinator and offensive minded coach. So that's why I'm hoping that the fact that the Raiders have not hired anybody yet, I think that they have a deal done with Clint Kubiak. Despite the reports that he is now starting to flounder on the idea of becoming a head coach, I'm not buying that at this point. Until it happens, I'm just going to stay positive. I think Clint Kubiak is going to be the next Raiders head coach. I think Clint Kubiak is going to be the reason why the Raiders start getting back into playoff form. And I think that the bringing Clint Kubiak with the number 1 overall pick, getting Fernando Mendoza, spending a bunch of money in the salary cap, and rebuilding this team and making a dynamic offense is what it's going to have to take in order for us to get back into a Super Bowl. And I think Clint Kubiak is definitely the guy for the job. I was all in on Ben Johnson. Look at what he's done with Chicago so far. He's done a fantastic job. I'm all in on Clint Kubiak the same way. He just has that way of winning about him, and I think he'll transfer that over as a head coach. Now, a lot of people say, oh, he doesn't have the fiery attitude. He's not a great public speaker, blah, blah, blah. He's a little bit more introverted. They said all that same junk about Ben Johnson. I even fell into that a little bit, saying, hey, maybe we dodged a bullet with this guy because there's a lot of reports coming out about him being introverted and will he be able to win the locker room over? Well, apparently he did, and he's doing just fine in Chicago. I think the same thing is going to happen with Clint Kubiak. Clint Kubiak brings another aspect to this other that Davis Webb doesn't. Number one is he's got more experience and he's a head offensive coordinator and he's a proven winner that way. Davis Webb is not an offensive coordinator and he's only been coaching for a couple of years. Yes, he is a young, bright, innovative mind, but he doesn't have any experience behind him. And credibility when you're dealing with NFL football players means a lot. So I think when you bring in a Clint Kubiak versus a Davis Webb, he's automatically going to win that locker room because this dude's a Super Bowl champion offensive coordinator that just came in fresh off a Super Bowl saying, this is how we do it, boys. This is how we get back into form. This is how we're going to get into the playoffs. This is how we're going to make a Super Bowl run. And people are going to listen because he now has that credibility, whereas Davis Webb doesn't. So at this point, I don't think Davis Webb is going to be the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, unless Clint Kubiak comes to the Raiders and says, sorry guys, I don't want to be a head coach right now. Or he decides, I do want to be a head coach, and I really believe in Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm going to go down to nice, warm Arizona. I know it's nice and warm in Vegas too, but both of them are hot. Who knows? I love Arizona for some reason, so I'm going to go down there with Kyler Murray. I don't think that that's the case. I don't think that that's what would happen. I think the type of coach and offense that he runs does better with an Aaron Darnold, Fernando Mendoza style quarterback. Smart, laser accurate, can pre-snap, post-snap, read all of that stuff, and he's on time. And then you have a fantastic run game to set up those play actions. I don't see that with Kyler Murray. I don't think he'd want to go deal with that headache. I think he would want to come to the Raiders or stay with Seattle. It's really at this point, that's it. So I think Arizona may be looking at Davis Webb now and say, well, maybe we should offer him the job because not likely that Clint Kubiak's going to come down here. I don't know what the future holds. Only God does. But I tell you one thing I do know. I love reading your comments. Even when you get in my I love reading your comments, even when you guys are getting down on me, because hey, I can take it with the best of them. Drop comments down below, share for more, follow. You know what to do. Let's go, Raiders.